Hello, everyone. I have here a book by Bryson called Shakespeare, the World as Stage. And it was Gary at the Tale of a Whale books or antique store that told me about this book. And I ordered it from Tailwind Books, and I got it a few days ago actually. And so I'm really enjoying it because I told Gary. Gary has studied Shakespeare, has acted in his plays, and I just want to sit down and spend the rest of my life listening to him talk about Shakespeare. But of course, that's never going to happen. So anyway, he's told me about this book, so I went and bought it. So I'll read you a little bit about it, and I've lost where I want to. Oh, here we are. I found where I want to read. You are going to hear facts about Shakespeare that you will probably never find anywhere else. So be prepared. So this is page 18. What we do have for Shakespeare are his plays, all of them but one or two, thanks in very large part to the efforts of his colleagues Henry Condell and John Hemmings, who put together a more or less complete volume of his work after his death, the justly revered First Folio. It cannot be overemphasized how fortunate we are to have so many of Shakespeare's works. For the unusual condition of 16th and early 17th century plays is to be lost. The few manuscripts from any playwright survive, and even printed plays are far more often missing than not. Of the approximately 3,000 plays sought to have been staged in London, from about Shakespeare's birth to the closure of the theaters by the Puritans in early 1642, 80% are known only by title. So it is because we have so much of Shakespeare's work that we can appreciate how little we know of him as a person. If we had only his comedies, we would think of him a frothy soul. If we had just the sonnets, he would be a man of darkest passion. From a selection of other works, we might think him variously courtly, cerebral, metaphysical, and melancholic, Machiavellian, neurotic, light-hearted, loving, and much more. Shakespeare was, of course, all these things. As a writer, we hardly know what he was as a person. Faced with a wealth of text but a poverty of context, scholars have focused obsessively on what they can know. They have counted every word he wrote, logged every dib and jot. They can tell us, and have done so, that Shakespeare's work contains 138,198 commas, 26,794 colons, 15,785 question marks, that ears are spoken of 401 times in its place, that dunghill is used 10 times and dullard twice, that his characters refer to love 2,259 times, but to hate just 183 times, that he used damned 105 times and bloody 226 times, but bloody-minded only twice, that he wrote hath 269 times, but has 409 times, that altogether he left us 884,647 words, made up of 31,959 speeches spread over 118 16,406 lines. Isn't that just amazing? And of course, then it goes on. This is, they can tell us not only what Shakespeare wrote, but what he read. Geoffrey Bullock devoted a lifetime nearly to tracking down all possible sources for virtually everything mentioned in Shakespeare, including 8 volumes of devoted exposition, revealing not only what Shakespeare knew, but precisely how he knew it. Another scholar, Charles Hinman, managed to identify individual compositors who worked on the typesetting of Shakespeare's plays by comparing. Oh, goes on to the spelling, which is difficult to read. I'll go down. Shakespeare, it seems, is not so much a historical figure as an academic obsession. That I understand. As a glance through the indexes of the many scholarly journals devoted to him and his age reveals much dogged investigations as linguistic and informational atrophy in Othello, ear disease and murder in Hamlet, poison distribution in Shakespeare's sonnets, Shakespeare and the Quebec nation, was Hamlet a man or a woman, and others of similarly inventive cast. The amount of Shakespeare ink, grossly measured, is almost ludicrous. In the British Library catalog, Shakespeare as author, and you get 13,858 options, as opposed to 455 for Marlowe, for instance. And as subject, you get 16,092 more. The Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. contains about 7,000 works on Shakespeare, 20 years' worth of reading if read at the rate of 1 a day, and, as this volume slimly attests, the number keeps growing. Shakespeare Quarterly, the most exhaustive of bibliographers, logs about 4,000 serious new works, books, monographs, or studies every year. To answer the obvious question, this book was written not so much because the world needs another book on Shakespeare, as because this series does. The idea is a simple one: to see how much of Shakespeare we can know, really know, from the record, which is one reason, of course, it's so slender. Isn't that cool?